Hey, welcome to another episode of Expedition Marriage. I am Chris with my lovely bride, Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. I'm doing all right too. How are you doing? How are you doing? You know what? As always, glad that you're here. And so we're just sitting down to chat today. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of a surprise on Chris kind of episode.
It is.
You know?
So if you're wondering why Chris doesn't sound like he's solid on what's going on,
Because he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. No, we're going to do something a little different today. But I was thinking, I just want to share this. We were on our way to church this morning, and we were having a discussion in the car, and we're thinking, we hear from a lot of couples that we don't have anything to talk about anymore.
Right.
Feeling disconnected and stuff like that. And on our way to church, we just recorded a quick little note of encouragement to our Instagram followers, giving them basically a simple tip for when you don't have things to talk about, when you've run out of things to talk about, or you're not connecting. And really, it is so simple. But here's the catch. You got to go to church for it.
Yeah.
You got to go to church.
There we go. There's the rub.
Yeah. And so what we shared is your pastor every single week gives you stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
and
sure
so
does.
that simple tip is go to church, come home, and talk about the sermon. Right?
Why do we need to talk about it? He talked about it all morning long.
I know, but it is. And one of the things you had said, which I loved, is that it's making the message go beyond a Sunday.
Yeah.
Because we want to, the whole point, like your pastor's not there just to be heard, just to
perform.
Show off his giftedness. He's there hoping.
Look, God gifted me with speech.
Right? He wants you. I mean, he wants God to work through him to change your life.
Absolutely.
And so there's a tip for you that's totally bonus and free. What are you going to say?
Sure.
You're
Well,
laughing.
I was even thinking, and afterwards you could even probably share maybe some Sunday. Hey, we went home and we talked about your sermon and all that. Because I was just thinking, well, how encouraging that would be for a pastor to know, hey, you actually all talked about it and carried it on through the week versus this idea of walking past your pastor in the morning after the service is over and going, hey, pastor, thanks for the sermon. Don't really remember what you said, but have a good week.
Right? And it is. It's an encouragement to your pastor to share. But good grief. I mean, that stuff you can talk about what you got out of the sermon, what you learned, what questions you have. And in addition to that, I had also heard from somebody on Instagram who's in a very common situation where their spouse is not a believer. And so that makes it a little hard, but they still go to church. And my encouragement to them was, you know what? Share what you learned.
Yeah.
Come up with a question to ask your spouse their thoughts on it. You don't have to preach at them, but it is a discussion platform for your spouse as well.
Well, and on the whole, you don't go to work with your spouse every day, but yet you still come home and talk about what you did at work and what happened.
That is so true. So start talking about spiritual things, not in a preachy kind of way, but in a, hey, you know what? The pastor said this today and I learned that.
This is good news. This is good information.
Yes. And so share these things, share godly things with your non-believing spouse.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to put in an ad right now. I am straight up going to put up in an ad, and I have zero shame about it because we believe in this. Because couples are not connecting.
Yep,
They're
true.
not doing things. And you've got 80% of divorced couples. These are couples, they've already divorced.
Yeah.
80% of them say they grew apart.
Yeah, sad.
Right.
Sad.
But on the flip side, you've got 83 to 84% of couples who have regular date nights.
Yeah.
They report to being very happily married.
Wow.
I think that's
83 to
significant.
83 to what? 84%?
83 to 84%.
Huge.
Well, 83% is the husbands, 84% is the wives.
Oh, okay.
Like that's kind of it. But very rarely do you have statistics that close for husbands and wives. So they're both saying, you know what, date nights help us feel more connected.
Yeah.
We're happier.
It's impacting.
Right. And so we want to let you know that we have partnered with Happily Date Box, and these are some great date boxes. They come delivered right to your doorstep once a month. They're customized just for you. This is one of my favorite things because you fill out a little quiz telling them about yourselves as a couple.
Yeah, interests.
Yeah, and they customize your date box. And here's the deal. They plan the whole thing for you. You don't need to get a sitter. They're very affordable.
Yeah, husbands, I hope you're listening to this.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So many times, so many wives, like couples will legit come to counseling for this. And it's like, he never plans a date night.
Right. And because this is why there's no shame. This is a powerful tool. If we can help you feel 83 to 84% of you feel more connected.
Yeah, and
then
happier.
Then you'll be thinking, well, tell us thank you. You should be thanking us.
You should be grateful. I know. No, and it's true. So if you want to get one of those date boxes with our partnership, you get your first one for free.
Yeah.
You get it completely free. Yes, for $7.99 shipping. So you got to pay some shipping in it. But in addition to that, any consecutive date boxes you want to get, you're going to get a lifetime 25% off.
Boom.
Yes. So that is a great thing.
We work hard negotiating this stuff for you.
That's right.
They kind of went 25%. We said our people are important.
That's right.
This is important to marriages.
That is exactly how it went down.
Exactly how it happened.
No, but seriously, in our show notes, we're going to give you the link. You just use code Expedition Marriage to get all those perks, and they're fun, they're great, and it's just such a valuable thing.
Huge.
And a great way to invest in your marriage, and you need to put zero effort into it.
Yeah.
Zero effort.
You go and check out.
Yeah, you got to go check out. So, okay.
Yeah, so there's that. But you don't even need a sitter.
No.
I don't know who to call to get a sitter. I'm sorry, I'm mocking some man out there.
Mocking.
I apologize for mocking. I should be building you up. So if that's a struggle that you're going through, then that's
right.
You don't even need a sitter.
That's right. That was a long promo, but I don't care. We don't care.
Again, you're welcome.
That's right. That's right. So now let's move on to the episode.
Okay, now the thing I didn't know was coming.
Yeah,
right,
you knew what was coming, but you don't know what's coming.
Right.
What I thought would be fun for us to talk about is our most popular Instagram posts.
Fun.
And so we're going to dive into them a little deeper and share more about them. So it's kind of like a long caption episode of our podcast, right?
Yeah, you're the comments.
Yeah. So we're going to share about this, but Chris has no idea what these are. Yeah, extended captions.
Extended caption. Instagram post extended caption version.
Yeah, that's really good. That we might work that into the title. Okay, so let's talk about these. Okay, these are some of our most popular ones.
All right, I'm ready.
Here's the first one. Was a quote. It says, when it comes to your marriage, whatever you're not willing to fix, you're asking your kids to one day have to fix in their marriage.
Yeah.
And it says, you change the legacy for them.
Boom.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've said that this is stuff that when we'll teach in a group and things like it's the idea of maybe like eating family style. Whatever you don't take for your own plate, you're leaving on the plate for your kids to take. And so whatever battles that you're not willing to fight, whatever discomfort you're not willing to face, might not even be a battle. It might just be that struggle of like, well, I don't know how to get to coordinate a babysitter because I don't know who to call, and that's awkward for me to be calling the babysitter. That's fine. That's a struggle, whatever. But you know what? But whatever you're not willing to face and try to figure out a solution, you're leaving that for your children.
Yeah.
That's going to be trickling down. So it's not just it affects us and it won't affect them. No, it will absolutely affect them.
That's right. And I have an entire history of people in my family that ran from problems.
Yeah.
They straight up ran from them. They avoided them. They swept them under the rugs. They dealt with them inappropriately. And nobody was willing to fix the problems. And I even remember, now I will say that I fully believe the Lord made me to be a counselor.
Yeah.
He made me to be an exhorter. That's my gifting. And this is what I do. And I think because of that, even as a child, I remember thinking, what the heck is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? And I would desperately try to address issues and be like, Mom, why are you saying that? Why are you doing this? Where are you going? Why are you running away from me when I'm 10 years old trying to get your help with something? And I remember thinking that, and sure enough, for generations this has gone on.
Yeah.
But guess who fixed it?
You.
Not my children.
No.
Not my children.
The buck stopped here.
Right.
Proud of
so
you.
there are big things. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
There are big things that can be passed down, and there can be anger issues. There can be legacies of divorce and avoidance and people pleasing, all the things.
We'd ever bring up any hard subject and all that. And you know what? You brought up an interesting point because a lot of people might not pick that up. You actually saw as a child, this is off.
Yes.
This is wrong and all
Yeah.
that. Look, the majority of kids, when they grow up in an environment, that's normal, right? I said that really weird, like I was from, Minnesota or something like
Normal.
that. It's normal.
Normal.
That's
It's normal.
It's normal over there.
That is like-
don't you know?
That's Irish.
No, that's
or
well, maybe
Scottish.
that's kind of Minnesota, don't you know?
I don't.
A
If you're
little
from
bit.
Minnesota,
If you're from
please
Minnesota,
contact him and let him know that
we
is
need
not Minnesotian.
We need some
Minnesotian.
some verification. But anyway, the normal thing that we from us in the Carolinas, I can only imagine the accent we don't hear from ourselves that everybody else is going. Wow, you all where's your straw hanging out of your mouths and your boots? Okay, anyway. What's normal is for the children growing up to think that whatever they're seeing is what all the families do.
Yeah.
And so you to see it for what it was and see that it's wrong is the outlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kids will grow up in that this is just what families do until later on in life when they start getting exposure to other families, usually late teens, other families going, wow, that's not. I've shared this with couples before. What do French people call French food over in France?
I know the answer.
Food.
Yeah.
Food. French people call French food in France food because that's what they have.
That's their normal.
That's their normal. American food is at McDonald's, right? So, which we don't get sponsored by that, but they can. You can.
I don't want to be sponsored
No,
by
that's true. I don't. Yeah, but you can send us money anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
but anyway, but the point is, so that we have this idea of what is normal, what's not, and we develop that, and so that's one of the reasons why it's so hard, and most people don't break those generational bondage chains, because they don't have this aspect or idea of what normal should look like, and by the time they do, they've developed such bad habits that it's hard for them to overcome. So we're not saying it's easy. But it is important.
Yeah, and I think the even worst case scenario, I think it's hard enough to put it on the table for your kids to fix, but what's even harder is to put it on the table for them to fix and they still don't.
Ooh.
Because they're just as broken, if not more broken than you were. And now they're just repeating a cycle, and now they're passing it down to your grandkids. And so that's the worst case scenario, is setting your kids up to fail at something because it is so daggum hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's not what we want to do. So if you've got struggles, start working on them. A bite size, one thing at a time, and you will get there. Changing one thing in your marriage can make a lifetime of a difference in your children.
Yeah.
So
and if you don't know what to do, there's help. But you know what? Maybe the first step is just asking for help. Maybe the first step is telling each other, I struggle with this.
Yeah. And like this one's going to set this next post up nicely, I think. It says, here's the next
You're
Instagram post. It says, thank you for your efforts, baby. When you don't pray for your marriage, you get the results of what you can do. Ooh. But when you do pray, you get the results of what God can do.
Yeah. This is
so you don't know what you're doing to change your marriage. Pray. Ask God. Tell him, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know this is wrong. Help me.
Okay, so you're saying that the God who created the universe, including marriage, and has a design for what he wants marriage to look like, will assist if somebody asks for their help in their marriage?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's interesting, right?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. And it's like, I know I can speak for myself very well with this. I have worked so hard spinning my wheels trying to change things in my own strength. And like, I'll take that right back to the first post. I'll take that right back to the first post we were talking about, because what I was taught was that I had nobody to go to. I didn't have a mother or a father who was a resource, and they were avoiding problems. And so if I would bring them one, or because I had all these fears and all these anxieties as a kid, they just were like, oh, we ain't talking about that. And so what position did that put me in? It put me in one to deal with it myself.
Right. Sad.
And that's what I practiced for most of my life, is you can't depend on anybody but you.
Yeah.
And as someone who became a believer at close to 30, that was a lot of practice.
Oh, yeah.
a lot of practice, and I got really good at doing that.
Yeah.
And so, like, early on, I think in our marriage, it was me white knuckling it through trying to change everything. And that, like we shared in this post, that is only going to get you so far. But when
Yeah.
you bring the Lord into it and
It's
go,
exhausting.
God, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I need you to help me. I need you to move. I need you to change my husband's heart. I need you to help me change these behaviors. You're going to get so much farther when you invite in the Lord's power into your marriage than if you're just white knuckling it
Sure.
and trying to do it all yourself.
Yes, us
You're
mere
not
mortals.
powerful enough to save your husband.
No.
You know, or to change their behaviors or to change your own behaviors. Like, at best, it's a temporary fix.
Well, that's a great point, because even changing our own behaviors, how difficult or how challenged are we to change our own behaviors? Much less if you would just stop doing this, it would help me with this, or
Yeah.
if you just wouldn't do that, I wouldn't do this. Versus, you know what? There's something I need to start on my own, and I need God to help me enter into that. So certainly, I need God to enter in to help with other people in their struggles as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. That's a big one. So
Solid.
pray. Pray about what you need to do in your marriage. And now here's another big one. This one was a carousel post, so it means there's several slides to it.
Okay.
And it says, "Did you know this about your marriage? It's the number one place for triggers." Your marriage is one of the most refining relationships you'll be in.
Yep.
And sometimes triggers are involved in the refining process.
That's true.
When triggers come up, they're meant to shed light on things that need to be dealt with, healed, and overcome. Your marriage should be the safest place to heal. Don't settle for continuing to be triggered. Listen to them when they happen. They're letting you know something is wrong and needs addressing. Find the gift of healing that the trigger is bringing. Now, I want to say something right out of the gate with this, because here we live in a society that is very triggered.
Yes.
We hear about triggers all the time. And what the message behind that is you are triggering me, so stop it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And if you do that in your marriage, you will have absolutely zero growth in it. I don't like when you do that. That triggers me, so I need you to stop doing that.
There's no personal responsibility.
That's right.
And that's in the reality of the situation. In most of the situations, a little caveat, but the reality is, in most of the situations, is your behavior is highlighting my sin. And
Yeah.
I need your behavior to stop highlighting the sin that I am displaying. Now, look, there's some triggers that trigger pain. There's trigger point,
Right.
past
And some
traumas.
triggers might, like you're talking about right there. I'm sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
like that,
you're fine.
but that you're talking about like where it's a legit trigger because I've been traumatized.
Sure.
That is still a trigger that is meant to point you towards healing.
Yes.
It still does you no good if you just say, I can't ever see anything like that, or I can't have you ever say that. But if you are that triggered to where you're emotionally stunted by that and overwhelmed by that, then that needs to point you towards healing, potentially with a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a sign, that trigger is a sign that says, this isn't okay, you need help.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No. That's because that's a great point. That's what I wanted to get to and run to. But in marriage, most of the time, what we're talking about, and there are some triggers from childhood trauma and stuff like that. Like you're coming at me like it sounds like you're
a
blaming
raised
me.
voice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Raised voice. So it sounds like you're blaming me. I was blamed a lot in my childhood. I'm not going to be blamed anymore. So now I'm going to come back strongly versus start to realize, hey, you know what? I don't
Why
have
does
to.
this bother me?
Yeah. Why does it bother me? Why am I being so emotionally reactive? That's not really godly. Jesus wasn't emotionally reactive like that. And if the goal is for us to become made more in the image of Christ, then that's something that should at least highlight what our behaviors are saying. What is it they're saying to our thoughts, to our beliefs? Do we have faulty belief system? Right? Is there something going on that needs to be examined versus you just shutting you down?
Right. And I feel like for us, the whole first 10 years at least of our marriage was me being triggered by a lot.
Yeah.
Because if it was, and like you are not someone who raises your voice hardly
I know.
ever at all.
Sorry, I was laughing because I said, yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's like, and even now I will constantly say, quit yelling at me. He's not yelling
I'm not
like at
yelling.
all. But even a raised voice.
You want to hear me yell?
From you. Yeah, you don't do that.
I can yell if you want to hear me yell.
But even a raised voice or a certain look on his face that would look like somebody maybe dismissing me or him turning his back, when
Sure.
I'm talking to him. those things were triggers. And there came a point where instead of trying to make him change every little thing and walk on all these eggshells.
You always have to face me and can never turn around.
Right.
When you walk out of a room, you need to walk backwards.
But instead of putting all these restrictions on you, what I needed to do was go, why does that bother me so much? When all of a sudden I get upset over something that's seemingly insignificant, I need to go, what just happened?
Sure.
Why am I like that? And then that's what I started to do. And then it's like, I'm like that because every time I needed help or was upset, people ran away and turned their backs on me. And so you reaching over here and looking away from me for 3 seconds looks like that. But at the end of the day, it's up to me but it's not that. You're not my mom. You're not my stepfather. You're upset about something else and your voice maybe have gotten a little elevated. You're not my angry alcoholic stepdad.
Yeah.
And so I need to grow from those triggers. And so those triggers in your marriage really need to point you towards healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's honestly our opinion why God allows this kind of, it's opportunities for us to see where we do need to grow. It's opportunities for us to go through the sanctification process, to have this junk from us get worked out, these impurities, so that we can become made more in the image of Christ.
Right.
Our behaviors, our speech, everything can look more and more like God every day.
Right. And if we go back to the original post we were talking about, not passing the buck to your kids, set your kids up to not have triggers. Don't give your kids things to be triggered over.
Yeah, to become triggered about. And look, please, that's an impossible task.
Oh, for sure.
So we're talking about the minimal. Like, try not to give them the big things.
Right, right.
Because there's still going to be things who are pleasers who are going to hear things like that. Oh, are you saying that I didn't do that good enough? And it's like, no, I'm not saying that at all. So you're right, but we're just talking about the big ones, the being triggered by yelling, for example.
Yeah, we're not trying to set our kids up to have this perfect, happy life where they never feel anything negative. But there are a lot of big things we can keep them from.
Absolutely.
And triggers come from a place of hurt. And so at the very least, as parents, we can try not to hurt our children.
Right. Limit that as much as possible.
Right.
At least if it's coming from us. Protect our children, even if it's from us.
Yes. Yeah, it's so true. So let's do one last one because I think this is a good one to close on here.
All right.
It says, couples who make it aren't the ones who never fight or have reason to divorce.
True.
They're the ones who make their commitment to one another more important than their problems or flaws. They find a way to heal no matter what.
Yes. It's that all in idea. Look, okay, you know what? Everything that comes up is an opportunity for us to learn more about ourselves, learn more about our spouse, to be able to grow and to be able to push back. Even, and I'll self-disclose because I don't do that too often. About the dark side of Chris. The other night I was
I was much more jacked up than you. It's okay, honey.
Little passive-aggressive comment that I made, passive-aggressive joke. Well, where did that come from? It came from a place of where I was like...
You got in trouble for that one.
Yeah, I did. Well, rightfully so. Rightfully, I should have. Right? We need to call each other on our BS, our belief systems, and our belief systems, right?
Yeah,
so we need to call each other out on this, when there's shenanigans going on, and so that way we can investigate, where's that coming from? Because that was some place where I needed to not behave in that way. And why was I behaving that way? There, I got the chance to take a look at it. This all ties together. I looked at it. You know what? That's a place where I'm hearing that you're saying that I'm not good enough. You're not saying that. You're not saying I don't measure up. You were just making a comment about a need that you had, and so then I lashed out about like, well, I guess I don't do anything. That's not what I said, but
it is kind of what you said. It's what I heard anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the challenge. We'll hear things that aren't really being said, and so we've got to push through and go, hey, you know what? That's not really what we're talking about. That's not really what's going on. It sounds like what's going on, but it's not really what's going on. And that's what we do. When we work with couples, we try to help them overcome that stuff. So then that way they can hear what's behind it. They can understand that better and then be able to grow past that. Then I was able to actually share my injuries, my struggles and
Yeah, what was really happening.
yeah, what was really happening. And now I'm being more vulnerable with you, and you're able to be more vulnerable with me, and that helps bring us closer together.
Yeah.
That helps us to grow more strong.
Yeah, and I can be there to support you in a refining process.
Absolutely.
Which we're each going to go through
Yeah.
in marriage.
Marriage brings that up better than most
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, so be committed to this marriage. You may have problems, and we're not talking about abusive things and
Absolutely
stuff like
never
that.
that, yeah.
You may have problems that hurt so much. You may have triggers that are so abundant that you want to just run, and you think it's your spouse. You think there's some magical person out there who's your soulmate who you're not going to have these
Yeah.
issues with. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. And so your best option is to stick with who you are with. Go to the Lord, work this out, be a resource to one another, and start dealing with these issues.
Yeah.
And your marriage can be really great. It can be really great. So if you need some help, get it. We're here for you.
That's what we do.
Yeah, it's what we do. We're here for you. There are other resources available to you. So go do that. But if you need to just start simply, we're going to end it on this and point you right back to the date box. It's something you can do that will help you be connected as a couple.
Sure.
It will provide opportunities to talk, to have fun together, to laugh together, and it's just super good for you. So don't go through your whole marriage without doing what you need to do to really make it great. So go grab yourself a date box, use the code Expedition Marriage. That way you can
Enjoy the journey.